Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Gay marriage to be allowed in Bermuda for another 3 months. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, February 28. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. 3 weeks after the Domestic Partnership Act was given royal assent reversing same-sex marriage rights in Bermuda and allowing only domestic partnership, gay couples are getting a reprieve. Home Affairs Minister Walton Brown on Wednesday announced that he will allow same-sex couples to tie the knot until the end of May. The controversial Domestic Partnership Act reverses last May's Supreme Court decision enabling gay people to wed on the island. It was passed in both Houses of Parliament last December and given royal assent by Governor John Rankin on February 7th. But Brown says the implementation of the act has been delayed to June 1st to allow already planned same-sex marriages in the island and on Bermuda registered ships to take place. He said same-sex couples can apply for marriage license until May 12th, after which time they will only be allowed to apply for a domestic partnership provided for in the new law. The announcement came on the heels of May 21st and 22nd being set as trial dates for a court challenge to the new law. A lawsuit has been filed by 38-year-old singer and stand-up comedian Rod Ferguson, a gay Bermudan living in the United States, who claims the act is unconstitutional. He is seeking to have the legislation declared void on the basis that it is inconsistent with his fundamental rights as set out in the Bermuda Constitution. Chief Justice Kawali will hear the case. Barbados' Prime Minister is expressing disappointment that only 4 CARICOM countries have joined the appellate jurisdiction of the Caribbean Court of Justice 17 years after the Trinidad-based court was established and 13 years after it began operations. In fact, Frandel Stewart says it's unacceptable and, in his words, a disgrace that after the CCJ has been in existence for so long, only Barbados, Belize, Dominica and Guyana have signed on to replace the London-based Privy Council with the CCJ as their final court of appeal. And the Barbadian leader says he does not buy the argument that there is a division of opinion in the countries that have not signed on to the court in its appellate jurisdiction. Stewart said, and I quote, "If we all decide that we want to be independent and we were able to unite the population on those issues, I cannot see why on matters relating to how our disputes are handled and how our grievances are addressed, that we still believe that the former colonial master is better than people here in the Caribbean." End of quote. Most CARICOM countries are signatories to the original jurisdiction of the Trinidad-based CCJ that also functions as an international tribunal that interprets the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas governing the 15-member regional grouping. But Stewart says that as far as the CCJ's jurisdiction is concerned, countries cannot have one foot in and one foot out. He is optimistic that the matter will be addressed at the next CARICOM summit in Jamaica in July and that more definitive answers will be provided on what steps member states proposed to correct the situation. 8 men who were detained during the 2011 state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago are to be paid more than 328,000 TT dollars in total compensation for wrongful arrest. The men had sued the state after being arrested, charged and prosecuted during the state of emergency that the then People's Partnership government declared to stem criminal activities in the Twin Island Republic. When the lawsuit came up before Justice Frank Sipasad on Wednesday, attorneys representing the Office of the Attorney General said the state had opted to settle the matters without going to trial. The 8 men, Akil Kareem Sherwood, Kerwin Isaac, Kadeem Weeks, Jules Eligon, Derek Miller, Richard Weeks, Ronald Cobham, and David Williams will each receive just over $41,000. There are 6 other claims for wrongful arrests and malicious prosecution stemming from the state of emergency, and those matters will be called on March 27th. In the Bahamas, a High Court judge has ordered the unconstitutional release of 8 Caribbean nationals who had been detained for illegally entering the country. Justice Gregory Hilton ordered their release, ruling that their detention was unlawful. In his ruling, the judge made reference to a 2004 case in which the former Court of Appeal President Dame Joan Sawyer confirmed the legal position in the Bahamas that detention or arrest with a view to deportation without being taken before a court is not permissible. Queen's Counsel Fred Smith, who represented the claimants, was pleased the court upheld the rule of law and the constitutional right to due process. He said the detainees all had legal right to be in the Bahamas.
These are people who are either married to a Bahamian or who have obtained or have Bahamian children, or who are waiting for work permits or waiting for spousal permits, or some of the other ones who are waiting for certificates of citizenship.
The Guyana government has started ramping up security at its borders with Venezuela as illegal migration from the Spanish-speaking nation increases. But President David Granger says the move is in no way intended to be an act of aggression. He says it's simply his government's way of ensuring people living in Guyana's frontline villages are protected. We get more in this report from Travis Chase of HGP Nightly News.
Frontline villages, including Arau, will see tightened border controls with Venezuela immediately. Cabinet was locked in meetings on Tuesday, during which President Granger reportedly instructed that additional troops be present in the villages along the Guyana-Venezuela border to protect Guyanese citizens.
The Guyana Defense Force was instructed to take certain precautions. They're not aggressive, they are purely defensive. And we have designated certain villages along the border. Whitewater is one, Baramita is another, Kaikan, Arau, to ensure that our citizens are safe. We're concerned with the safety of our citizens. And in that regard, I don't think there should be any deep concern. We have planned, in fact, at the Defense Board meeting, which was held last Thursday, I've instructed that the Guyana Defense Force should brief the Parliamentary Committee on Security to let them know what preparations are taking place, and I expect that there will be full participation both by members of the government side and the opposition side.
Venezuela's neighbors are grappling with a mounting influx of desperate migrants fleeing a worsening economic crisis in that country. Guyana's head of state assured that the deployment of more troops to frontline villages is not to initiate any form of aggression.
We are concerned with the situation in Venezuela, and that is not a stable situation. And it is in part a response to the Venezuelan problem, because there has been a surge in crime, there has been a surge in illegal migration, and with it may come, gun running. There has been a surge in the return of Guyanese from Venezuela. So, in a sense, the complaint about recency is quite relevant, because the whole situation in Venezuela is itself recent. But it has alerted us to the need to make sure that our border location, these frontline villages, are not isolated. And we have to do much more work in years to come in developing communication, developing infrastructure, make sure children go to school, all of the services that I've been speaking about over the last 3 years. That is, we must erase the differences between coastland and hinterland.
Particularly, residents of Arau up the Wenemu River had complained bitterly to Nightly News about the presence of unfriendly Venezuelan gangs.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, a call for the sewage problem on Barbados' south coast to be declared a national crisis. That story and more after the break. Stay with us.
Sail with us through our ocean blues, where there's a blessed land that's waiting for you. Shh, look, listen, feel. Realize your dream escape that's magically surreal. The best kept secret, a place you'll never forget, where adventure beckons with every gentle footstep. From lush mountain green to warm volcanic sand, submerged in splendor, our 32 enchanting islands. A kaleidoscope of experiences. No need to look anymore. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Caribbean you're looking for.
Come and experience fun, meet amazing people, and enjoy fantastic food at the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of festivities from June 27th to July 1st of 2018, with main stage performances from the 28th to the 30th. Here's the first wave of confirmed acts. The legendary Patti LaBelle, Queen of Dancehall, Spice, Miss Lauryn Hill. Many more acts to be announced. Book now and save the date. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.net. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
The Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association wants government to declare the protracted sewage spill on the island's south coast a national crisis. The call from Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Rudy Grant, came as businesses in the area, including hotels and restaurants, continue to be affected by the spill that is accompanied by a foul smell. Grant says it's time for action.
Truly believe the situation has deteriorated to the point where it is imperative for government to view this as a national crisis, as it is affecting residents, schools, businesses, and visitors to the island. In this context, we also believe the time has come for a senior government official to take the lead in terms of the day-to-day management of this crisis. It is also important for the BHTA to be in a position to be able to respond to the concerns being expressed almost on a daily basis by our trade partners.
The BHTA boss says the organization is fearful of the negative repercussions for the country if the matter is not dealt with speedily.
The BHTA fears that if these challenges are not remedied soon, the end result could prove disastrous for the future of the industry, as well as Barbados as an attractive and desired destination. The BHTA reaffirms its willingness to continue working with the relevant authorities in order to find solutions for this crisis and to provide appropriate support where possible.
The Antigua and Barbuda government is requesting regional and international observers to monitor the March 21st general elections. It has written to CARICOM Secretary General Erwin LaRocque, as well as the Commonwealth and the Organization of American States, to send observers. Prime Minister Gaston Brown, who called the polls more than a year before the constitutional deadline, said letters of invitation have been dispatched to those organizations. He says the observer missions will be fully facilitated. The writ for the general election was issued on Tuesday, a day after Governor General Rodney Williams dissolved Parliament on the advice of the Prime Minister. Nomination day is March 5th. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Brown says he's confident of a clean sweep for his Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party at the polls, but he says that would not amount to an abuse of power. We get more in this ABS News report.
At the doorsteps of the party's headquarters and a point of FM in the Prime Minister's constituency, the ruling party attracted a large crowd to its first public meeting of a shortened season. And with the poll pending, it's on the campaign trail that the real political justing begins.
Because from tonight, Melford Nicholas answer back. It's time for the answer back. Let me tell you all something about what we're facing with. Elections are about choices.
Some of the heavy hitters, including incumbent candidate for Barbuda, Arthur Nibbs, and the incumbent candidate for St. Paul, E.P. Chet Queen, also rallied supporters behind the vision of Prime Minister Brown for the development of this country.
And I told the Prime Minister, my job is to ensure that Barbuda is a part of that economic powerhouse. I am proud to declare tonight that I am a Gastonian, that I believe in Gastonomics, and that I believe that Gaston Brown is easily the best Prime Minister this country has ever had before.
Prime Minister Brown was introduced by the monarch King Short Shirt, once an opponent, and now declaring that he's back home.
We want all the seats, including Barbuda. And I said to you tonight, that when we would have won the 17 seats, we will not abuse power. We will be responsible with it. But I said to you tonight that the greatest threat to the development of this country is a criminal organization, a criminal enterprise known as the United Progressive Party.
The ABLP has since produced 3 public events since Prime Minister Brown announced the date of the poll on Saturday night. The UPP will be staging the launch of what it has dubbed its Hope campaign this coming Sunday on Parliament Drive. With the ABLP already out of the gates in this short season, observers will be keenly watching how the main opposition performs in the final furlongs.
Foreign Affairs ministers from Belize and Guatemala have been answering questions about their position on taking their country's border dispute to the International Court of Justice. Both governments want the matter to be settled at the ICJ, but that decision is being left to the people. On April 15th, 7 million registered voters are expected to participate in a referendum on the issue in Guatemala. Belize Foreign Affairs Minister Wilfred Elrington says going the ICCJ route will clarify both countries' legal rights and end what has been a sore point for centuries. Guatemala's Foreign Affairs Minister was also questioned on whether her government would respect the ICJ ruling if it was not in her country's favor. We get more in this News 5 report.
In a press briefing, the top Guatemalan diplomat addressed current relations between the countries and the upcoming referendum in Guatemala and whether an ICJ ruling in Belize's favor would be respected.
Creo que las reuniones que se han sostenido recientemente entre Guatemala y Belice.
I believe that the meetings that have been held recently between Guatemala and Belize have only strengthened their relations for peace and culture, as we can see here. This also shows the mutual goodwill that exists between our two countries. And what we are seeing here is exactly what we want to accomplish and wish for both of our countries.
Creo que estamos con ustedes saben que el 15 de abril será la consulta popular en Guatemala.
As you know, on the 15th of April, the national referendum will take place in Guatemala. Guatemala is informing the people about the territorial dispute that we have with Belize and that the International Court of Justice will be the one to decide the outcome. We are willing to abide by what the court decides, and that is why we want the referendum to take place so that we can move forward towards peace and development for both countries.
As for Elrington, he focused on the cooperation and camaraderie between the youngsters in the OAS's Culture for Peace program as a model for overall relations between the countries, which at least at the western border have never been better.
I don't think there's been a better time in terms of the relationship between us at all levels. At the Ministry of Foreign Affairs level, we're very, very cordial, very, very close. As a matter of fact, the Foreign Minister is very proactive and very much interested in enhancing the relationship between us. Apart from getting the Guatemala issue solved, They want to enhance the relationship and make it better, stronger, deeper. Also, too, at the children's level, you saw from the relationship with the Culture of Peace program how kids are working together so very, very well. At the people-to-people level, I don't think that there has been a better time. Guatemalans are coming across and working with us. Belizeans are going across and working with Guatemalans. We go as students, we go for medical attention, we go for commercial purposes. We have Guatemalan investors coming into Belize. So this is a very, very good period, a juncture in our life. Peace, no problem. I don't think we can ask for more.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, a stunning loss for the West Indies in their ICC World Cup qualifiers warm-up match. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Time. Kick back, relax, enjoy the view, the boats, the scenery amidst epic parties, entertainment and nightlife. Antigua Sailing Week. Experience 7 days of non-stop bliss. Chase the race daily by land or up close by sea as the crews compete for glory. Then, when night falls, the harbor ignites. Antigua Sailing Week, April 28th to May 4th, 2018. Antigua and Barbuda. The beach is just the beginning.
Come and experience fun, meet with amazing people, and enjoy fantastic food at the 22nd Annual Seconds Music Festival. 5 days of festivities from June 27th to July 1st of 2018, with main stage performances from the 28th to the 30th. Here's the first wave of confirmed acts. The legendary Patti LaBelle, Queen of Dancehall, Spice, Miss Lauryn Hill. Many more acts to be announced. Book now and save the date. For more information, log on to SakeItsMusicFestival.net. The Sake It's Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Sail with us through our ocean blues, where there's a blessed land that's waiting for you. Shh. Look, listen, feel. Realize your dream escape that's magically surreal. The best kept secret, a place you'll never forget, where adventure beckons with every gentle footstep. From lush mountain green to warm volcanic sand, submerged in splendor, our 32 enchanting islands. A kaleidoscope of experiences. No need to look anymore. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Caribbean you're looking for.
Afghan fast bowler Daulat Zadran grabbed a hat-trick to send favourites West Indies to a stunning 29-run defeat under Duckworth-Lewis in their opening warm-up match of the ICC World Cup qualifiers on Tuesday. Chasing a modest revised target of 140 from 35 overs, the two-time former world champions collapsed from 80 for 2 in the 14th over to 110 all out in the 27th over at Harare Sports Club. Opener Evan Lewis top scored with 36 and veteran right-handed Marlon Samuels got 34, but they were the only two batsmen to reach double figures. The drama began in the 20th over of the innings when Zadran knocked over Shimron Hetmeyer for 1, Rovman Powell for 9 and Carlos Brathwaite, who did not score, in successive deliveries to leave West Indies reeling on 99 for 8. First, Zadran had the left-handed Hetmeyer caught at gully by Zadran and removed Powell to a catch at the wicket before trapping Brathwaite LBW. Zadran finished with 4 for 26, while dangerous leg spinner Rashid Khan and left-arm spinner Sharafuddin Ashraf snapped up 2 wickets apiece. Meanwhile, newly appointed West Indies bowling coach Alfonso Thomas says he's hoping to help the bowlers bring a more strategic approach to their execution on match day, starting with the ICC World Cup qualifiers, which bowl off next weekend. The 41-year-old South African who replaces Barbadian Roddy Eswick said central to his objective was ensuring every bowler had a clear plan and fully understood their role in the attack.
there's obviously a lot of talent. I mean, and I think, having had a few conversations with a few of them, it's just identifying what every bowler's role is going to be, and that is something that we're going to discuss with Jace. And I think once we've established that, to then map out clear game plans for each and every bowler.
Having already had a taste of the Windies camp in the build-up to the start of the qualifiers, Thomas said he was relishing the challenge.
I would like to facilitate guys and mapping out exactly what they're looking to achieve during a match. And I think that will give us a measurable when we reflect on where we're at as a bowling group. So I'm more seeing myself as a facilitator and really getting guys to have clear game plans going into each and every match.
Still in cricket, the Cayman Islands opened the ICC World T20 Americas Sub-Regional Qualifier Tri-Series campaign against Argentina on Monday with a convincing 5-wicket victory over the host nation. Cayman bowlers skittled out Argentina for 88 after they won the toss and elected to bat before the visitors eased home with 18 balls to spare. Argentina slipped to 13 for 3 in the 5th over before Pedro led a partial recovery with a top score of 34, but they lost the last 5 wickets for the addition of 18 runs with Troy Taylor and Kevon Brazil 3-wicket haul and Conroy Wright with figures of 2 for 12 doing the bulk of the damage. In reply, Cayman Islands got off to the worst possible start when Ainsley Hall was bowled by Hernan Fennell in the first ball of the innings, but the visitors made light of the setback. Hall's opening partner Darren Cato hit 5 boundaries in his 19-ball 24 before captain Ramon Seeley's 28 lifted his side to the brink of victory. Laturo Massini was Afghanistan's most successful bowler with 2 for 15. After the match, captain Ramon Seeley spoke to Cayman 27 about his side's all-round performance.
Always nice to get our first game out of the way in the tournament, especially when we win that game. We had a good bowling performance from Kevon Brazil and Troy Taylor, who both picked up 3 wickets, and Conroy Wright, who had 2 wickets. So overall, I can't complain. It was a good team performance, a good intensity from the fellas. Obviously, there's things that we can improve on, but it's good to start the way we did today and looking to move forward in the rest of the tournament.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Again, the major developments of this day, same-sex couples will be able to marry in Bermuda after all, but only until the end of May. And in sport, West Indies fall to a stunning 29-run defeat by Afghanistan under Duckworth Lewis in their warm-up match for the ICC World Cup qualifiers. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CarnaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good night.